What's up? So, before the episode kicks off, I just want to kind of give you a heads up. This is something that we have recorded now many moons ago, so you'll find references to us speaking as though the new live-action Avatar series hasn't come out yet, and some other things that may kind of mess with your sense of time, but the episode kept getting pushed back, and here it is now.
You're listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast. Fire is the element of power.
Why do I need to know these things?
Earth is the element of
Others before you have asked that very question. The best answer I have is in the words of a very wise man I met in my youth.
Well, what did he say?
Air is the element of freedom. He said, it is important to draw wisdom from many different places. If we take it from only one place, it becomes rigid and stale. Water is the element of understanding others, the other elements, and the other nations will help you become whole.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Cult of Lore. I'm Eric.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Jerry.
And today we are going to be talking about one of the neatest magic systems to exist in fiction, in my opinion. And that is the bending of the four elements from Avatar, The Last Airbender, and so forth. Because there are comics and a sequel series and soon to be a live action series that
We'll see.
Yeah. I'm
Cautiously
hopeful.
hopeful.
Cautiously hopeful.
So One Piece has been good.
Yeah.
People are responding fairly well at this time to Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh, yeah.
So
there's hope.
here's hoping.
Yeah, there's hope.
Here's hoping.
And the trailer has looked pretty good. Like all the stuff like really seem to have learned from M. Night's mistakes. We'll see.
Yes, but I
Yeah.
will say I do think they're and I don't mean this to be negative, but they are copying a wee bit of his tone, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like in his
I kind of see what you mean.
in my extremely, let's just on the offset from that, extremely limited exposure to Avatar The Last Airbender.
That's right. I did drag Ben into this. Yes.
He seemed to have removed the comedy elements and go with a more epic route, which Netflix at this point in time seems to have done. As
Yes, the trailer is very serious.
well. Everything else seems entirely different from Mr.
M. Night. Mr. Twist.
That guy.
Robot chicken. What a twist.
What a twist. So,
Wolf.
anyway, I just want to also take a moment to go into why I think this is such a cool magic system. It's very visually exciting and stuff like that, but also it's so, for the most part, intuitive. Like a lot of the times, several times in the series, like a new quote unquote power was kind of introduced just visually. Like there was no name, there was no, no like, whoa, you can do that. It was just like, oh, nope, suddenly, a rock bender is crushing some crystal or something. It's like, oh, I guess they could bend crystal or the natural protection like ice water and stuff, which we'll get into.
Some more natural transition from one to the other.
Yeah. So it just always feels very intuitive. I guess for the most part, there may be exceptions in there, but so I just, that's one of the coolest things about it. And anyway, I could also gush on this show forever. So fair warning there. Don't let me do that.
There's going to be a fair amount of show blowing on this.
Yes.
From Eric's corner.
But today we're focusing on the bending styles. There's 4 elements involved, and we're gonna learn them in the same order that Avatar Aang learned them in. So, and I guess I'll name them off in case you don't know, in case you haven't heard. There's air, water, earth, and fire. And each one comes with its own like cultural stuff. There may be another episode that focuses on the culture of these different
I'm
nations
sure there will
and
be
stuff, but it may come up because it's pretty intrinsic to these styles in a lot of cases.
Each one of them probably deserves their own episode, just like the legions do.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
That would be a lot of fun. So, okay. Without further ado, I guess we'll start. Avatar Aang was born an airbender, so we'll start with airbending. And airbending is kind of what it sounds like in some translations across the world. I guess it also translates as wind bending, which is very appropriate, no.
No.
I guess
That just sounds like a style of fart. I don't know.
Sounds like your uncle would be doing it. Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. No, I think airbending's the way to go. Wind bending is something that I've done recently. And if I can do it, you're not special.
Oh, that's why it smells like that in here.
No, that's Gypsy.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. She does a lot of wind bending herself.
I thought it was the cabbages.
So, oh my God, I almost airbending is practiced by the air nomads, and they are a monk-like civilization. They are the only group of benders, actually, that is born 100% benders. In other nations, there's different percentages of, who's born able to bend and who's not. And with airbenders, I believe it is 100% because they're all very spiritual. And so apparently that spirituality has increased the amount of bending in their people to the point that, it is 100%.
Yeah, just judging from Aang, they have a very monk-like culture.
Very much
in
so.
The way they dress and comport themselves. So I suppose that would translate.
Yeah. They seem very based on like a few different like monk cultures that exist in our world, which we're going to run into a lot and stuff like that as we talk about it, including their fighting style. Because bending is produced through motion, bodily motion. You're doing a martial art when you are bending an element. And they based these movements on real world martial arts, and they kind of translated them over. So
it's also a good limitation. Like
it really
if
is.
You can incapacitate your enemy, if you can keep them from moving their arms and their legs.
Yes.
And they can't just suddenly like telepathically materialize their powers.
Exactly. That's a great point.
It's a good power limiting system as well.
Yeah. And it is something that comes
in every
up.
Case though.
Apparently not. No.
Well, there are exceptions to every fucking rule.
Yeah. But in general, and that is something that comes, like there is a character who's an earthbender at one point who both of his arms are broken. So they're kind of like in a bind there. They're stuck in a canyon, So it is a nice way to intuitively limit things. Yeah. So airbending, the martial art behind it is based on, here we go, pronunciation time. I think it's Bagua Hong or Bagwa's Hong, something like that.
Good for Bagua.
Yeah.
Well, that depends on what a Hong is. I mean, you might think it's intuitive, but Little Debbie does ding dong and ho hos, and those are not what you would think they are. So it depends on what a Hong. It depends on what that is.
It does depend. And this style of martial art is based on circles. It's a lot of circle walking.
Circle jerk.
Not quite. It's more flowy than that.
I don't know if the ending of the circle jerk can be pretty flowy.
Jesus. Oh no.
It's all kinds of gushing and
so yes, based on a lot of circular motions to emphasize footwork, evasiveness, and flowing from one move to the next, which does make a lot of sense when you're talking about air, you know what I mean? It does feel that way. And it makes them very defensive and evasive. It's not a very aggressive bending style.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the most mobile of the styles.
Very much so. Yeah, it gives. I mean, they have some incredible abilities. Like they could just hop around to great heights.
They can fly.
All just
They can
about.
fly. Fuck off. They can fly. He can ride an air bubble around like it's a like one of those fucking toys you see at a playground, the rocking back and forth. That's flying.
They could fly. Let's talk about the air bubble. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. It's referred to as an air scooter, and it's a big ball of air that Aang actually invented it. He invented this move, and he would zoom around and ride on it. It's how he earned his tattoos, which was, signifies being an airbending master. You have, mastered the art of airbending, which he did at a very early age. And apparently that air scooter, that air bubble that you could just sit on and ride around in was...
In more evolved times, we call that an airplane. He's flying.
But it's very bubbly.
Whatever. It's a round airplane. Sue me.
Like a hot air balloon.
Yeah. Some other things that they could do. Well, what I think is kind of funny is they're a little dangerous when they like sneeze. Because when they sneeze, it just like unleashes this big blast of air that can propel them. And they can also do this by drawing in a breath and blowing out and stuff like that. So it's...
Once again, what about the fart?
Stop it. Fart bending didn't come in until Legend of Korra, from what I hear.
The airbender with allergies is just like shunned.
Yeah. They're just like, no. Nomad in the strictest terms. Get out.
That would
Some other cool things that they're able to do is they can reduce the wind resistance in front of them as they run. So they could just like Looney Tunes run.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like when shows go into like these kind of offhand ways you can use things that you wouldn't necessarily just strictly think of.
Right. Yeah. Like it's not just a blast of air all the time, which often they do.
Yeah. Tornadoes.
Tornadoes, of course. Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you that breaking the wind resistance so they can just jump really far. And of course, jump down from great heights. They can create quite, a cushion of air to slow their fall. They also for being such a defensive and like passive form, they have a lot of weapons that can be used with airbending. When Aang actually does hang on to his staff and use it, it's quite devastating. You can really generate great big winds that throw people around and stuff. They also use fans, as a weapon for pretty much the same purpose.
That makes sense.
Yeah. They often build their staves to be able to unfurl into gliders.
Parasails
and then they can,
or whatever.
Yeah. And so they can glide around by controlling the wind currents and stuff like that. So a lot of really cool abilities. They actually, unless there's something in Legend of Korra, which full disclosure, I haven't seen. I've seen bits and pieces of, but I have not actually seen it. So unless there's anything in there, they really don't have those kind of special, there's special bending abilities. There's sub-bending abilities within each of these four elements that we'll kind of touch on and probably do a full episode on later. But I think airbending is lacking in that, to my knowledge. But
it seems to be a lot more versatile than a lot of some of the other ones.
And that's true. And there's a lot of emphasis on its versatility. Like they could do they could survive underwater because they could form a bubble around their head or their body and, stuff like that.
You could Dutch oven somebody without a blanket.
Oh, Lord.
You could just do the air bubble and put their head in it.
Just deal with it. So, yeah, there's a lot of that cool stuff that this bending style has to offer. Let's talk a little bit about its origins. The air nomads learned airbending from a creature called a sky bison.
Which are awesome.
They are... Appa is a sky bison. They are huge bison-looking things. I think they're also supposed to be kind of crossed with manatee. They have a manatee-looking like tail.
They have a paddle-style tail.
Paddle tail. Which
6 legs, right?
They do have 6 legs. Yes.
Like a fuzzy beaver tardigrade bison thing.
Yeah, really. That's probably the best description I've ever heard of a sky bison.
Yeah, he really looks like a Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Very
You're right.
unique looking animal.
Yeah.
And he is my favorite character in the show.
Oh, I know. Isn't he great? And he's such a smart boy. I think it's heavily implied that he can actually understand English fully.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It does seem to be that.
Yes. So, and the more you watch, the more clues you see into that. It's cool. Yeah. He's a smart boy. He's a good boy with huge tongue. Watch out for that lick. It'll knock you on your ass. But Sky Bison can airbend to the point where they really can just fucking fly. Yes. Yeah. They just kind of lazily paddle their tail through the sky as they go. And, that makes Appa a great ride and a great They're dangerous. Like, don't fucking piss one off. They are very dangerous. They're very big. And if they turn around and flap their tail at you, they just kind of slam it down and it generates one of those massive gusts of wind. Like, I'm pretty sure Appa has killed people in the series. It's violent.
Yeah.
It's very violent.
They're bounced off of walls.
Yeah. So I think, other than just that emphasis on flow and harmony and evasion, I think that is pretty much covering what I'd like to get into with airbending today. And because I'd like to move on to the other elements as well. This whole system is super neat. And once you start seeing them paired up against each other and stuff like that, it just creates a whole lot of really neat scenarios.
And this is just a flavor episode.
Yeah, it really is. And so, Aang mastered airbending, and then he met a fellow waterbender who he started to, as the Avatar, he's learning all 4 elements. We'll get into that in another episode. And he begins to learn waterbending. And so we too shall learn a little bit about waterbending.
Yes, and he learned that from Katara.
The kind of female protagonist.
Yes. She's, one of the
along
very
with her brother
early...
dipshit.
Oh, Sokka. Yes. The first 2 companions of Aang. And she's kind of learning with him too in the early days. Yeah. But she becomes quite the waterbender in her own right.
Oh yeah. She ends up being one of the most powerful waterbenders in the whole world.
Yeah.
But water is the element of change for waterbenders. It's gives you the hydrokinetic ability to manipulate water in all of its forms.
Which is always
all
useful.
of its forms. Yeah.
Ice is a real motherfucker.
Yes.
Steam. So steam, can you imagine an airbender and a waterbender fighting over steam?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. They've actually like cloud bent and stuff by bending together. Love it.
Yeah. Did you guys get into the origin of how people got bending?
I have. I'm not sure. I didn't, because that's Legend of Korra territory, so I didn't know too much about it. But so do go on.
There were these giant water lion turtles. Well, I mean, they weren't all water lion turtles. They were just lion turtles.
Right.
And there seems to be, lion turtles is something that seems to play a part in all of their origins.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because the people lived on their backs.
Yes.
In cities.
All of the different bending nations lived on the backs of these fucking things.
Yeah.
Thank you for saving me having to explain that later.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I probably should have gone into it with what little I knew, because I think that was during a time when the spirit world and the human world were not, or the humans maybe lived in the spirit world, I think.
Yeah,
at that point.
The time of Rava or something?
Rava.
Era of Rava.
Era of Rava. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So the people would, venture into the spirit wilds, and the lion turtles would be like, here's bending so that you can, survive that. Because it was dangerous.
Yeah, they would kind of hand out bending while they went out. And then isn't it when they would return to the lion turtle, they had to give the bending back, quote unquote?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that just the water?
So that was actually all of the elements. I believe what happened was once the humans separated from the lion turtles, they kind of had to
learn it from somebody else.
Yeah.
I see.
The lion turtles renounced their protection of humanity, and then people couldn't. They took that ability away. They didn't take away the ability to do it. They just
took away the
we're
knowledge.
Not going to grant it anymore. People had to figure out their own ways to learn their bending.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
That fills in a nice missing.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure how much to go into all that with, because I'm a Last Airbender guy. Again, I haven't seen Korra too much, so I didn't want to cover it too much, but it is important in the lineup
it is.
Of how
what
things
little
went,
I know of Korra was just not good.
Yeah.
I know it's
but the world bending seems pretty cool from what I've heard.
The world building?
The world building, yes.
Yeah. World bending, now that's a fucker.
No.
It's now the shape of a donut.
That'd be wild. World bender. Another thing, I guess that introduces to another form of bending is energy bending, and that's how the lion turtles would give and take the ability to bend. They would physically touch them and manipulate the energy within the person.
That's a sub-bending, but I'm not sure which element it would belong to.
I think originally it was supposed to be something that really only the Avatar brought to the table, because it is
sense.
That's what allows him to do all four.
right. Like, he had to be taught it, so I don't know how ingrained it was. Just the writers, they wanted Aang to be able to do something that no one else could.
Right.
Is the way I
Avatar
understand
is a
it.
bridge to the spirit world.
Yes, and they're to balance like these 4 nations, but also the human world and the spirit world. There's supposed to be that bridge between.
Yeah, but it seems like to me, if energy bending is the way that you bend all of them, then it would seem like the Avatar really has the ability to energy bend and then has to learn the four to do it, rather than him being a firebender that can learn to do all of these things. It's like a white lantern trying to learn all the different colors. He's probably actually an energy bender that can then adapt all the four.
I see what you mean. I think that makes some sense. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Not that the lore went that way, but that's what it seems like to me. Is that if there is this overarching style that something new at some time, then that would make what makes the Avatar so special.
Right.
He has access to this
other type of
bending that nobody else has that allows him access to all of them.
He has to achieve full Avatar state to do it.
Right.
Yeah. But we'll rewind from energy bending and go back to
water bending.
That water bending stuff.
So people, after they, separated from the water turtles, lion turtles.
The lion turtles. Kind of. Yeah.
They learn to water bend by observing the push and pull of the tides.
They are the only ones to not learn from an animal.
Yeah, they learn from these spirits.
Yep.
There's two spirits. There's Tui and La, which is Mandarin for push and pull. Tui is a moon spirit, and La is an ocean spirit.
Yeah.
And they kind of manifest as these two koi fish.
And they look very yin and yangy.
Yes, yeah.
Like one's black and one's white.
Yeah, and they both have the opposing spot on their heads.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
And they actually gave up their sort of immortality to hang out, I think, in the Southern Water Tribe area.
Northern Water Tribe.
Northern Water Tribe?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right, because they're in the north.
And so, they have like a sacred pool that they're swimming in a circle around in this kind of shrine area in the Northern Water Tribe.
Yes.
I wonder if that's what allows water to heal.
That kind of tie to the more spiritual side of things. That's not a bad theory.
It's not like fire can't heal. Like, obviously there's that struggle in the series. Like, is it just for destruction or not? And that ends up, spoiler alert, not being the case.
Yeah.
But fire can heal as well. You cauterize things all the time.
Yeah, it's used in medicine too.
So I wonder if that spiritual element is what gives water that unique property.
Yeah.
I know the water healing is like redirecting chi energy paths.
Yeah.
So it really does have that kind of spiritual tie to it. See, I had a theory that it was just like light side blood bending, but
no,
it's
not allowed.
It is not.
So the water abilities are really versatile.
Yeah.
They can do all sorts of stuff with them. And the phase shifting really exponentially increases the things you can do.
Oh, yeah. Going from water to ice and
solid liquid to gas.
Yeah.
And if you're a really good water bender, you can switch very quickly in battle.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
That would be ridiculously hard to deal with.
Slash somebody, freeze it, and then turn it into mist and slip away. And, all in one motion.
Boom, you've captured them and now you just missed it out. And
or if they're holding up a shield, you can just steam it and it goes right around the shield.
Yeah, it's a really powerful ability. And yeah. It's usually used defensively and then turned into counters. So you'll have your water out and then someone attacks you, sort of direct that back at the attacker.
Yeah, very redirect-y sort of. Yeah.
And it's, based on Tai Chi.
Okay.
It's very flowing the energy around in swirly movements.
That makes a lot of sense. It is, again, you'll see with the martial arts styles, it's really cool how intuitive it seems when you're oh, this is kind of the principle behind it, and it just matches so well.
There's a lot of cool ways that it gets enhanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's raining, you're obviously more powerful.
That
Yep.
You got a lot of water available.
Fight a water bender in the middle of a rainstorm.
Oh, God.
Yeah. That's going to be rough.
I would just, hopefully you're an airbender and you're just okay, well, clouds are going over into Africa.
Yeah. I am blowing a strong wind that way.
Nighttime. Nighttime, you're more powerful.
The moisture in the air.
Yes, and it's more associated with the moon
With
too.
the moon.
Yeah.
And the moisture in the air. So you're more powerful then.
Yep.
During a full moon is like almost is peak waterbender power.
Yes.
That's when you're extremely like feeling it.
It's when you really have to pee.
Yeah, you feel the flow.
Feel the flow. Yeah. Yeah, they're producing like, and it is cool again seeing the visual power differences. Sometimes it's like, yeah, it is nighttime and it's a full moon, and that's a real big wave. Whereas during the day, it might be a little bit more.
See, like, can you imagine like how
low-key.
cool you could get with that if you really went in on it? Like, imagine there's a water bender and they're trapped in the desert, so they have to make themselves sweat to use the sweat as a.
I love it. Yes.
I think there's been moments in some of the episodes
They had to figure out sweat bending.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Well,
to
there
get
you
out
go.
of a bind because they didn't have any water.
There you go.
That's the beautiful thing about this system. It is so intuitive. Yeah. No, that was a great. Yes. Good job.
What's pretty cool about this world, like the people seem to be discovering these abilities just sort of as it goes. Like, 'cause
Yes.
there's not a lot of like written down techniques and stuff. This stuff is just like they needed it, and so they sort of created it.
Yeah. And then it started kind of getting passed down from like master to student.
Yeah, it gets taught
Yes.
not through books or anything, mostly through teaching.
Right. Yeah. Just face to face and direct.
And what I like about it is it shows that your characters aren't stupid.
Yeah.
They're able to figure out different and strange, minute ways of using their bending.
Yes.
I like it.
Think outside of the box and
Yes.
puzzle things together. It does provide a lot of opportunity for that.
So I
Yes.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They also get their powers enhanced when they're near their homeland.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
So like being near the northern.
Well, that's
Oh,
cheating. They're on a thing
Southland or-
surrounded by ice and water. Of course, they're going to get a boost, you cheating fucks.
But they're also closer to the spirit, to the
Yeah.
spirits. That
To
makes sense too.
Their ancestors and
Yeah. But I'm kind of with Ben too. It's like, yeah, the icy tundra. Duh.
yeah, you control water and you're living surrounded by water. Well, I wonder why I got this giant boost for. My goodness. I don't know. It's like laying in the middle of a pool. Cheeky bastards.
I know.
That's what I'd do if I was a water tribe.
Yeah, just live somewhere real snowy and icy. Yep.
Live under the sea.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Atlantis, that shit.
Yep. There you go. Oh man,
One of
you
the
could
abilities
practically fly.
they do have, or a master waterbender can make like a bubble so you can go underwater and have like an air supply.
Oh, nice. That's cool. And that's a neat overlap with airbenders where airbenders are pulling air in with them and forcing it to stay. The water masters are forcing the air,
It's
the
already-
water away. Yeah.
And, well, they're also forcing the oxygen that's in the water
Oh,
rather than
into,
bringing oxygen.
yeah.
I
It's
found
so
a couple
cool.
ways they can work with other benders to do cool stuff. Like
Ooh.
when they work with an earthbender, they can purify water by like pulling
Running
the
it.
water up, and then the earthbender pulls the pollutants down.
Yes.
That way they can purify large amounts of water.
You could also, because earthbenders could probably control charcoal and sand, you could make a filter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they can work with an airbender to do like cloud bending.
Yep. That's another cool one. It's really neat seeing they don't do it enough in the show, but it is neat seeing like Aang and Katara working together and manipulating these clouds. It's it's cool for different reasons. Cloud cover, or there's like a cloud, someone who reads the clouds like you would read tea leaves.
Yeah.
So they like tried to fake her out.
She's like, who's moving my clouds?
Oh no, this is a terrible sign. Oh no.
Does it look like a dick?
I have
Oh, I
not seen
totally
a penile cloud in many a year.
It's a giant Johnson.
Oh, that's one of the best jokes ever. Yes.
She's like, I think this new year is going to be completely fucked.
Good year for twins, though.
Yin and yang. So there's four different styles of waterbending. Two of them are very similar. The northern and southern styles are very similar. The only difference really is the southern style is a little more aggressive, while as the northern style is more like
Utility.
utility, making like architecture and stuff.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
That's why in
Okay.
the show you see when they go to the northern tribes, they live in like ice cities
Yeah.
constructed, and then the southern tribe it's more like
Igloos
Inuit
and-
kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. That does make sense.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
So there's the northern and southern style, and there's a foggy swamp style,
Yes.
You guys learn about those at all?
I know about them foggy swampers.
No.
So that's like a segment of like the Southern Water Tribe that sort of moved to a swamp.
Yep. They went north.
In the show,
It
they
sounds
have
like Avatar: The Last Airbender, like Squidbillies edition.
It kind of was.
Yeah, they have very like Southern, like almost
That
Louisiana
twang.
like, style, like
Yeah.
Alabama maybe accents.
Yes.
But their style is a little different. It's more rigid, but it allows them to do like bursts of things. So like they have like little boats to get around the swamp, and they have to use like propeller like motions to make their little boats go.
Huh.
Yeah. They're like waving their arms in circles while and getting the boat to go.
That's just the beer. Got nothing to
That's
do with
just
their
the beer.
bending. Idiots. That's because they've been mother, sister, cousin, brothers for 6 generations now.
It's amazing how much he already knows about these people.
Yeah, they're portrayed very much like that. In the
Yes,
show.
they really are.
Yeah.
The guy's like playing like a jug. It's good.
Yeah.
They're also the only ones that do plant bending. Which is
Yes.
kinda cool.
See, that one, I was talking to Eric about that last night where I'm like, it just strikes me weird that there's no plant bending, but I know that plant's not really considered to be an element, which is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, in the swamp, they like sort of swirl these like vines that have a high water content,
I see.
and then they like put them on themselves as like a big armor and sort of
Yeah.
Whips
With
and things like
things
that.
Yeah, they look like a swamp monster at first.
and they
yeah.
can very quickly like suck them back up and heal places that have been like chopped off and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was pretty neat when they introduced. It's like, and again, in the show, they're not like, oh yeah, we can plant bend it. Here's how. It's just like, oh, they can fucking do that. Wow, cool.
They're just doing it. and
Yeah.
they're the only ones that can do it.
Yep. No one else really figured it out. Honestly, I don't think anyone else really did figure that one out.
Now other waterbenders can like extract water from plants.
Yes.
but they don't really
They're not
take
using it to
control of the
manipulate plant.
physically and make it manipulate.
It's because it's lack of imagination.
Yeah, they're just not
Probably. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
That seems to be where a lot of the shortcomings in bending is, and where the particularly powerful ones excel is like, yeah,
Yeah, like
they're very imaginative. They're thinking outside of the box.
you have to be resourceful and come up with new ways to do things.
Yeah.
And there's another style which is specifically from the Legend of Korra, where they have like a pro bending sort of game. It's like a sport all the bending nations participate in, and it is a different style of water bending and fire bending and earth bending and air bending.
Okay.
Because there are rules in that where like they can't use a continuous stream of water, so they have to do more like short blocks and bursts, and they end up using their lower body more if they're good at it.
Okay.
'Cause
Okay.
Regular waterbenders usually use their arms to like do the Tai Chi movements and control the water that way.
That makes sense. They rarely do kicks.
Yeah.
At least in Last Airbender. It's interesting that it changes the way that you have the style in which you have to bend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to test, I guess, whether or not you're actually good at this bending in a strange outside way versus the standard taught.
Right.
I have weaknesses of the waterbenders.
Oh, great. Yes. Yes.
So one of the weaknesses is they need an external water source.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's why Katara in the show carries around a water skin, so she can bring water with her, even if she's like in the desert. She has access to her abilities.
It's basically the sword on a hip for her. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're stronger when they're near large bodies of water, but they get weaker as they're farther away from those.
Yeah.
So like if you want to beat a waterbender, kind of draw it away from the water source, and it won't have as strong of abilities and access to the water.
Right.
Dry them out.
Yep. Dry them out.
Yep.
It does make sense. Yeah. You can't do that to an airbender. Anywhere you're going to be fighting them, there's going to be air.
Just put a Kroger bag over their head.
Suck them into the ocean.
Yeah, you could just put them in the... Well, yeah, because waterbenders can't draw oxygen out of the water. They can only bring oxygen down. So you can drown them.
Oh, yeah. I suppose a waterbender could drown.
Fire also burns out oxygen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Another weakness is binding of their limbs, because they do need to do the movements to manipulate the water.
Yep.
In most cases. There's a special case, but...
Okay.
we
Yeah.
might
There
get
are
into
some
that.
exceptions. Yes.
Yeah. During a lunar eclipse, they completely lose their bending.
Oh.
Ooh, that sucks.
They lose... the moon is separated from the earth. They can't
That
do
makes
it.
sense. I did not know that, though, but that does make sense. Okay.
To me, it kind of doesn't make sense, because the moon's still there.
Okay,
Yeah, but there's
that's
something
true.
in between it.
But yeah,
Doesn't have-
it's like
does-
the Earth is between them and the moon, or something.
Oh yeah, the Earth would be between the moon and the sun. So you still have. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
But I think it's more of that. Like the moon has gone away visually, spiritually.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
yeah, because they,
it's all in the mind.
Yeah. I wonder if it is. That's an interesting. Yeah.
Well, an emotional state is also one of their weaknesses.
See?
Like, if they have a temper, or they're upset. They can, if they have a temper, they get stronger with the water, but they lose control.
oh yeah,
So
that's
Kinda like fire.
Okay.
Yeah, like in the show, Katara gets upset with Sokka and like breaks the iceberg.
That's right.
Not voluntarily, but like
Out of anger, she's just flailing her arms around, angry. Oh my gosh. Yep. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And another weakness is lightning.
Yeah, I wonder why.
In water, there are impurities, usually salts, and that makes water very conductive.
Oh, yes.
And that's very conductive to lightning.
That makes sense.
So you can definitely incapacitate a waterbender with lightning.
Yes, because they are often touching the water that they're bending. Not always and not strictly, but yeah,
But often.
often they are. They're not afraid to get wet, so that makes sense.
I can list the sub-bendings.
Yeah, let's at least name them. We, might talk a little bit about them, but
First one I'll talk about is the healing.
yes.
Waterbenders can move chi in someone's body and direct the pathways and heal them.
Yeah. Which again, I wonder. I did always kind of wonder if it was like low key blood bending, but whatever. I guess not. It's fine. Chi plays a lot, has a lot to do with the bending of the elements in this, so that makes sense.
Yes. Well, that brings us into blood bending, which is controlling the body fluids of somebody, as long as there's a water content to it.
Oh,
Right.
I thought about what you were thinking about, Ben. As long as there's a high water content of the fluid.
That's everything.
Yeah.
In a person.
There's
Yep.
a lot of water in a body.
Yes, there is.
Can
Jerry
you make
said something very inappropriate to me early on in us talking about doing this episode. Very inappropriate.
Yeah, you can just make them secrete whatever. Can you imagine if a bloodbender was just like, this person forever has to pee?
Oh, that would
Just
be
like follows him around, and you're just like, all right, and your bladder's full again.
Yep.
Mwah.
Just constantly
And
refilling
your
their
bladder's
bladder.
full again. Ha
sort of like damage them so that there's like no muscle that holds the pee in.
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't
Jesus.
even have to do that. You could make it come out their nose for all you care. Just have it back up out of their bladder.
Jeez.
Air.
You know the
Jerry's
South Park
hardcore
episode
man.
where they decide to vomit turds?
Oh, what a terrible way to die.
Thankfully, they don't seem to have quite that level of precision with it.
Just cause an immense backflow.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
But well, perhaps there's some exceptions, but
Yeah. Bloodbending is one of those ones that somebody found out a way to do it without moving their body.
oh,
They were able to mentally, psychically do it.
interesting. Without moving,
Yes.
huh?
So that plays a part later on in Legend of Korra.
That's
So-
Legend of
See,
Korra
I don't
stuff.
like
Something
that.
farther
That's
down.
starting to get OP.
Well, it kind of does negate that limitation that
Yeah.
of the actual movement. So, again, I won't speak too much on it because I haven't seen the show for the context, but
No,
that kind of sucks.
I'm with you guys on this.
Yeah, but I'm sure it made him a pretty fucking dangerous.
He was a big deal. He was.
Yeah.
Another subbending is plant bending, which I talked about a little bit.
Our swamp boys.
Yep.
The Foggy Swampers.
The Foggy Swamp Tribe. During a full moon, that actually can become more powerful, and they can control like trees and move those.
Ooh.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
The Ents go marching every full moon.
Here we go.
Yes.
And the last one is spirit bending, which it doesn't go into too much,
Oh, interesting.
but it is something that waterbenders can do is like if they're very
Right.
in tune with the spirits.
I feel like I saw that. I didn't write it down because I just wasn't sure about it, but apparently spirit bending is a thing in airbending too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I don't know what the deal is there.
I think there's an episode where Aang goes to the Northern Water Tribe and combines with Twee.
Oh,
It combines with
the ocean spirit.
either Twee or La, and that's sort of spirit bending as well.
Okay, so I attributed to him being the Avatar.
Yes,
But-
I think only the Avatar could do that.
Okay. Okay.
So he is an energy like spirit bender.
Yeah, and he did. He caused a lot of tumultuous tsunami ruckus when he did that. It was a pretty neat, like, he was just this giant water being with Aang floating in the middle.
They named it Koizilla.
Koizilla?
Yeah, the people that made the show named
God.
it Koizilla.
That's hilarious and accurate.
That's what it is.
Just a big, koi fish looking kaiju of water.
And I got one more piece of trivia. The sound effects for the bending of the ice in the show were made from using lettuce. They just crunch some lettuce.
I feel like I've heard that. I feel like
we've run into that before with like Foley stuff. Yeah.
I feel like I've heard that before.
I bet it was iceberg lettuce.
Now, Jesus. Hold on. You broke me.
He wasn't ready for that one.
I wasn't, although I should have been.
Yeah, you should have been. Absolutely.
I wonder what sound they use for the blood bending, because when they move, like, they're just forcing their bodies to move in different ways, and it sounds somehow wet and crunchy.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yes. Like, it always sounds painful. And I wonder what they did to create that sound effect, but yuck. Yeah. Really sells the horrificness of it. Right on. Okay. From there, we will move Aang's journey along to meeting arguably the greatest earthbender in the world. She certainly proclaims to be so. Toph.
Toph's a cool character.
Toph is just such a little badass. And she is an earthbender. And earth is like considered to be the opposite element from air. And so that gave Aang a lot of trouble learning it. And we'll kind of get into why. Earthbending is based on, I think it's Hunga or Hungar. I've also seen it spelled with an R.
Good for Gar.
Yeah.
Depends on how hung he is.
Jesus, guys. How did I get both hung jokes?
We hung out to dry on that one.
Oh, you did. Nice. Good one. So this style is very like there's a lot of horse stance. If you know what that is. It's
that
like
explains why he's hung.
Yeah. Jesus. There's no getting away from it. It's a low stance that it's really hard on your core. Please don't. Oh, please don't. Look at it. I know. I basically hated that one too. I wish you could see the look on Ben's face right now. So the point
is too easy sometimes.
The point is that the earthbending style is very solid and rigid and very deliberate motions. Where the airbenders are evasive and maneuverable, the earthbenders are direct.
Yeah, they're very blocky.
Yes, they are very blocky. Like you'll see them just do a stomp to levitate like a hunk of earth, and then they'll do a punch,
flying.
Just like step, so they're very rigid. And when Toph is training Aang, she's basically like, earth is a stubborn element, which means that you've got to be more stubborn. You have to be hard-headed. You have to face your problems head on. Like, that's kind of the philosophy of it. It's based on that endurance and that solidity, and like, you don't move until it's time to move, and then you just fucking do it. Punch, boom. Although Toph actually does not practice the same kind of earthbending style, the martial art, as the rest of them do. They kind of gave her own style of fighting to make her seem different, because she did have to learn earthbending in a different way, and we'll get into that. But the Southern Praying Mantis style that they used, and that gives her a bit more like, it keeps her feet in contact with the ground more, and it's more about kind of like moving your hands to kind of feel the opponent.
Blind.
She is blind, and that's exactly why she had to learn in a different way, and why she is
so good.
Yes, like, I believe she probably is the greatest earthbender, because she entirely relies on it. Her sense of sight, again, is non-existent. She sees through her feet or through her hands. She sees through the vibrations of the earth. Yeah, which Aang gives her fits because he's so light-footed and flitting through the air and stuff like that. It's hard for her to see him.
That's why she calls him Twinkle Toes.
Yes, it is. And they call this seismic sense. I don't know if that's ever like spoken in the show, but in the wiki you'll find it called that. And Aang actually learns to do this and is able to apply it a little bit, but again, she's just in a constant state of sensing like her entire surroundings for the most part, except when she's not. Like, if she's on a little rock in a bunch of water, like when she's riding around on Appa, all she can see are the people on Appa. She can't see anything else.
Although I bet she gets really good sleep while she's riding on Appa.
Oh, yeah. It's probably so quiet for her.
And she can just sense his heartbeat. That large heart that she's riding on that's vibrating her entire body as she's laying on it.
Oh, I bet you're right. Yeah, it would be like a little bit of a lullaby.
Yeah.
Neat. Yeah. And she can also she's pretty good at picking out a liar. She's not 100%. She says she is, but she's not. There are examples where people have fooled her, but
right. Well, she's very arrogant.
Yes, she is. And for pretty good reason, but she is a little but a lot of the neat things you can do with rock bending is, of course, hurling rocks and boulders at people and causing landslides. And like one of the cooler things I think is like skidding themselves along the ground. Like they'll just kind of shift over, or they could do that to other people. It's like nothing else apparently moves, but now their footing is off while you've got your solid stance and can just, rock them.
Yeah, you can turn it to sand under them, basically.
Yeah. Yes, you can. They can kind of mushy. Although it was neat initially when they were in a desert, Toph couldn't see all that well in the desert because all the sand
muddy.
It was blurry and muddy for her. But then later in the series, she's on a beach and she like creates this perfect like sand sculpture, whatever. So it's like she found that weakness and like worked on it somehow is my assumption.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Speaking of sand, that is a subtype of earthbending that looks like it was kind of based off of airbending, the way that their motions and stuff were, and kind of the way they use it.
Well,
too.
yeah, I can see that. It's a very light version of
so like they use it to kind of do
earths.
Yes, it's shifty and stuff. It's much more like or possibly water, but they use it for like sails to kind of propel like land boats. So I don't know. Another subtype is metal bending, which Toph invented. She was able to sense the little impurities in metal, and then from there learned how to manipulate metal, which was pretty cool. And that's a whole different style, and like it really seems to change the way that things move and are, between metal and earth, of course, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Earth again is very chunky, or suddenly, you're melting into the ground, like you've seen people just like sink right into their necks, and now they're buried up to their necks.
And Toph learned from badger moles.
She did. So yes, you're right. They're the original teachers of the earthbending, and badger moles are great big creatures. Yeah.
Giant mole badgers.
Yeah. They might even be bigger than Appa. It's hard to.
They're close.
Yeah. They're comparable, and they are blind. And that's how she was able to kind of relate to them and stick around and learn earthbending from them, because they would just tunnel through the ground, using earthbending.
Just moving the
like
ground out of the way.
Yep. So yeah. Very shifty and a stubborn and durable fighting style, and so were the creatures that they were able to learn it from. And I love the strengths and weaknesses that come to it, especially from like Toph. Yeah, she's tough girl.
Yeah, she's a fun character whenever she's in the episodes.
Yeah. So from there, Aang finally meets somebody who can teach him firebending. And so we, too, shall finally learn a little bit about firebending.
Yes. So straight off from the off, firebending is the only form of bending that is self-sustaining.
Yes.
They do not require access to any of other element to be able to perform it.
Right.
Daytime, nighttime, doesn't matter. On a boat, off a boat, with a fox, in a box. The difference is that there is a comet that does seem to influence their powers, make them more powerful.
Yeah, it juices up. Yes, Sozin's comet comes around about every 100 years, and it juices up their firebending to an enormous extent. Yeah, but it's very brief, and then they're just, more or
now,
less
that being said, it does originally come from the sun.
Yes.
And the Fire Nation, which was originally called the Sun Warriors, and the Fire Nation ends up being a derivative split off of them, learned from the dragons, which, makes sense. And you learn it from participating in a dragon dance,
which is a style of firebending, apparently.
Yes.
That, seems to be different from what's typical during the time of the show as firebending, which is another neat thing about these bending styles. It doesn't seem to be too, like, these are the traditional ways of doing it, and it seems like there can be variations, and you can still use the ability. Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the best descriptions of firebending that I found was it's an element of power consisting of overpowering force tempered by the unflinching will to accomplish tasks and desires.
Ooh. Oh, that's good. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So the Fire Nation and the people that practice firebending seem to be more disciplined and more about discipline in their lives and in their pursuits than the other elements seem to be, which makes sense.
I think that is fair. Yeah.
Because fire is in and of itself the most destructive of the elements by itself.
Yes. Yeah. Like without any outside influence, it will be more destructive than any of the others without outside influence.
Right.
On a consistent basis.
It is the most aggressive of the elemental forms.
Yep.
Deriving from essentially one of two places. It either derives from anger and hatred or it derives from passion.
Yeah.
These seem to be the only two real areas that it comes from. And while both will suffice, one obviously being passion allows for a more finer control than anger does. It does this by channeling a person's chi or energy into an outward force, which is why it's self-sustaining because it comes from the inside.
Yes. Yeah. They don't rely on it being around like the other forms do. Yeah.
Two subgenres are combustion bending and lightning bending, which I did not get into simply because we're doing other episodes on those.
Yeah. Yeah. But they are fascinating and the philosophies behind them are pretty interesting too.
Yeah. Definitely. One of the better uses of firebending that it can do alone is to work metal, which is what gave the Fire Nation a big leg up compared to the other nations. They were able to make war boats, armor, cannons, things of this nature that the other nations just didn't have access to.
Right. Yeah. They do come across as much more technologically advanced compared to the other nations.
They do. Yeah.
And that's why they've got it. You don't see anyone else with a navy. The
Not
Fire
even
Nation
the water nations.
No.
Right. Exactly. Which is wild. Yeah. You would think, which just so thoughtful of the creators, because you would think your first thought would go to like, yeah, they're good with ships. But no, it makes more sense that the ability to make ships would be more important to that.
So the martial art that it's based off of is actually based on Northern style Shaolin Kung Fu.
Ooh.
North and South are basically divided along the Yangtze River. If you're on the northern boundaries of the Yangtze River, that's Northern style Kung Fu. Southern, of course, is Southern.
Okay.
The difference between Northern and Southern is Northern seems to be more flourishy and aggressive with kicks and flips and rolls, whereas the Southern style of Kung Fu seems to be a lot more like earthbending, where it's more foot on the ground, strong stance with the hand movements.
Right. Okay.
That was invented, just as a fun fact, was invented by an Indian, a Hindu monk, not Chinese, by the name of Bodhirama. Or Bodhidharma. There it is.
Bodhidharma.
I missed the D in there.
That's all I really
Bodhidharma. There's some drama in the firebending nation. That's in the Fire Nation. Oh, no. Don't throw that at me.
Jesus.
Yeah. So
one of the things I did like about the Fire Nation or about firebending in general, was there was a big kind of split in the show itself about what is firebending. And even before Eric had me watch the firebending episodes, and even there was one episode where you meet I don't want to call him disgraced, but he is sort of a disgraced firebending master.
Yeah, he is now an outcast, basically.
And not just that, but I mean, he really is ashamed of his art.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. He is.
And his point of view of fire is very, it's destructive and it destroys. And even when he was saying all these things, I told Eric, I was like, wrong. Like, I mean, maybe, yeah, but you definitely could use it for like
more than just destruction. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And obviously, because the writers of the show seem to possess something that equates to a brain, something very lacking in TV shows nowadays, they actually have an episode seasons later that addresses this what would have been a complaint of mine.
Right.
And it's like, no, fire is about warmth and it gives life to everything. Water by itself can't, and earth can't give life.
Oh, right. Yeah, Uncle Iroh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of school of thought.
Iroh. Yeah. Uncle Iroh definitely has that philosophy to him. And it's something that always struck me with the show is he's so chill. And it's like, how are you a firebender when all these other firebenders are so angry?
That's because we found out that he got the original lesson.
Yes.
Yeah.
From the original firebending masters.
From the dragons.
The dragons.
Yes. Even though, and kudos to him, in the story, we're getting a little bit more into the lore here, but that's fine.
Yeah.
The last dragon was reportedly slain.
Yes.
By Uncle Iroh, because the Fire Nation became not obsessed. I don't think that's fair, but they saw it as a status symbol and a way to declare your level of firebending by killing a dragon.
Yeah, because then you're outmastering the masters.
Right. And so dear old Uncle Iroh, he found the last two. And instead of fighting them or telling people that they were alive, he claimed to have killed them
and just went on and kept the secret
and left them in peace.
Yeah, and ensured like that no one else would be going after any dragons,
which then ensured that the Avatar could fulfill his destiny.
Yes, and finally learned firebending, because that was quite a struggle for him too, more so even than earthbending was.
So Uncle Iroh is the actual hero of Avatar.
I'd agree with that.
There are many people who would agree with that, including myself. Uncle Iroh is a treasure.
He's the Samwise Gamgee of this.
He really is. He's such a great.
Only he actually did stuff.
Oh my God.
No, anybody that tries to argue against the importance of Sam is just not paying attention.
Right. Yes, absolutely. For sure. Although the same for anybody who would argue against the importance of Frodo in favor of Sam. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now that we're on that subject, I gotta get and I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy. I'm not. Where do people get that argument from? I've actually heard people compare it to Raiders of the Lost Ark with Indiana Jones, where it's like he doesn't affect the plot. I'm like, what in the actual fuck are you people talking about?
Yeah, did you see the same movie I saw? Did you read the same book I read?
Yeah, under what circumstances, removing Frodo, does the ring wind up at that mountain?
Thank you. Exactly.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is 100% true. Without Indiana Jones, they still take it to the desert. Although you could argue that without Indiana Jones and all of that stuff, they would have taken it straight to Hitler, maybe. But nevertheless, if Indiana Jones does not interfere, they still go to the desert, they hold the ritual, they open up the box, and they all die.
Right.
Now, what happens to that box, what happens to the Ark afterwards? In my opinion, the Nazis send somebody and they end up picking it up. So it doesn't go to the top men.
Right.
But nevertheless, what happens to those Nazis is completely removed of Indiana Jones, what he does.
Yeah.
Trying to lay that argument onto Frodo is illiterate.
Yes. You're lacking in thought, even.
It's just it's
insulting.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Know that anybody making that argument, if you are hearing somebody make that argument, you are listening to a stupid person.
You heard it here, folks.
You heard it here.
This is a stupid person. You should point at them and go, ha ha, you are stupid. Child, no child, don't care. Stupid argument.
Read the book again or watch the movie again. Either way. Yeah. But there's that tangent for now. And I'm sure we'll return to it because eventually we will be covering Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
By the way, welcome. If we have just caught you for the first time, Cult of Lore, we often cover Warhammer 40K.
That is our primary coverage right now.
It really is. And because there's a lot to it. Tons. It's a whole galaxy's worth of stuff and beyond to cover.
I think it is the largest existing fictional universe as far as the sheer content.
And I've certainly yet to find bigger, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we often cover that. That's not all that we cover. We also cover real world mythology, especially on a holiday basis.
Look at your holidays. If there's and we don't obviously cover all the holidays, but we are adding one new holiday every year while keeping the ones that we've already covered.
Right.
So which reminds me, we've got to figure out what our new holiday is going to be this year.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. We've already done St. Patrick's Day and Christmas, of course, and of course, Halloween.
Just know that it'll be a ice cold day in hell when we cover Valentine's Day.
Okay. I knew he was going to say that.
It is not a fucking holiday. It is fake as shit. And no, Christmas is not fake. We'll get into we can do that someday, but it's not like Valentine's Day.
How about Leif Erikson Day?
Ooh, Vikings.
If you can come up with a compelling... Sure.
Norse mythology is fun. We haven't touched that one yet.
We haven't.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's a personal favorite of,
oh my God, I know.
Of all of ours.
So you know we're going to. So share or subscribe. I mean,
we got away with a miracle of sound song for Cuchulainn. We might aim for one for Vikings as well.
Yeah. Miracle of Sound is awesome.
Yeah. And with that, he's been having a rough time. If you haven't looked him up, he's been posting that people have been copying his shit without citing him or sending links over to him. So we're going to just because I saw that, and that actually really pissed me off. We're gonna link his channel just to redouble down on that because that's some crap.
Yeah.
I hate that shit.
While we're at it, there is another channel that I'd like to link down in the description. It's called Overanalyzing Avatar. And the dude is really funny, and he takes literally each individual Avatar episode and basically just says whatever he wants to say about it. He has a lot of really cool like things that he notices, he's funny jokes, and has a lot of interesting thoughts on the story. And he's a big part of the reason why I kind of was like, oh God, right. Yes, that's right. I loved this show when it was running and stuff. So yeah, he's a big part of why I'm just still in love with it. He reminded me. So Overanalyzing Avatar. He doesn't need our help, but check him out because you'll enjoy him.
And also, just saying, I'm going to say this so that I can put the pressure to Eric. I've been trying to convince him to do an episode-to-episode review of the Netflix Avatar series.
Oh,
it'll be a little bit more topical than we usually cover.
Yes. So,
but I think it might be worth doing.
I don't know. If you want to back up Ben, let us know and we'll do
it.
But
yep.
Yeah, we'll see because I'm cautiously optimistic about the new show, which is, full
That's as
transparency.
best as you can get.
Yeah.
Cautiously optimistic is about as good as those cock-sucking bastards deserve.
We'll circle back to the Avatar real quick before we do jump off of here. I just wanted to ask you, so you guys, I put it to Ben and Jerry, like, what do which elements do you want to cover? And I'll cover the rest. Are you happy with your picks? Or what? If you were a bender, would you want to bend the element that you picked?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I definitely think so.
Well, yeah, it's Jerry's path to plant.
Oh my gosh!
Plant bending.
You plant mastery.
Yeah,
yes.
So I'm a big gardening and houseplant enthusiast, so
yeah,
I would be pretty pumped about that.
Nice. Yeah, you could water your plants and work out at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do firebending. Definitely, I think obvious reasons, but I do like earthbending though.
Yeah. Earthbending, I think, is the one I'd go with. It seems to be the most I don't know, the most useful to me, I guess. Like I could make an instant shelter for myself wherever I am. I can tunnel underground and get the fuck out of there. And I don't like being on water.
Do you remember
anyway.
all about like being stubborn and confronting your problems head on?
Damn it. Maybe I'm an airbender at heart. Flee, run away. But I'm afraid of heights. I don't know. I like the ground better.
No, you're afraid of falling from them. Once that's no longer a problem.
Oh my God, you're right. Maybe I should be an airbender. Yeah.
Take away your fear.
There you go. You're right.
You can control it.
Yeah, right. If he could do that, he'd be an earthbender. We just covered this.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. So I guess that's pretty much all. There's like other things that are kind of linked to this, like spiritual stuff. Like their eye colors are all different. I can't remember all the eye colors. Different seasons are associated with the elements. I think they strengthen them. Obviously summer fire. I think winter is water. Yeah. So spring earth, autumn air. Yeah, something like that. So there's all sorts of like neat little tidbit stuff like that.
But we'll be getting to that.
Yeah, we will. So yeah, definitely look for more Avatar episodes because there's a lot to cover.
I got a question.
Yeah.
In the Avatar universe, there's all those animals that are like a mix of two animals.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite?
Sky bison.
You like the sky bison?
Appa's the man.
I thought that might be your favorite.
He reminds me of a mastiff, and anybody that listens for longer than 5 minutes knows that I'm just like a straight up mastiff person. So yeah, sky bisons are fucking dope.
That's a good
Love
one.
them. I want one.
Right now, I can only think of the spider fly, which is one that they mentioned. You don't even see it. But there's
the badger moles.
Badger moles are pretty cool. There's all sorts of like lizard. I don't know. There's a lot. And I was not prepared for that question, Jerry. I can't just pick a favorite hybrid animal. What about you?
Oh, I like the turtle duck.
Turtle duck.
Those are so cute.
God,
I'm surprised you didn't go with the turtle lion.
Yeah, I should. They're kind of more like entities. I don't know. They're almost godlike in their presentation, at least. They're interesting. They're cool, though. Anything with a shell, you can guarantee I would definitely like, I want to be able to hide away.
I like that the hybrid animals are so prevalent throughout that universe that it's really strange when they run into like a bear.
Yeah.
Well, I guess sky bison is not really a hybrid, is it?
It kind of is. It just doesn't have a hybrid name, right? Like, I think they were kind of going for a manatee bison.
And then Momo is like the lemur, but it's like a mix of like
a lemur and a bat, maybe?
Fox, lemur, bat thing.
Yeah. It's funny you brought up like there was a bear in the episode in the series, and they're like, well, what kind of bear is it? They're like guessing all these weird different, I can't remember
It's
any.
just a bear.
Yeah.
They're like,
what? Oh, weird.
That's fucking funny.
It was pretty funny. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we might have enough to cover the animals in an
I'm
episode
sure.
at some point.
I'm sure
There's
we
a
do.
shitload.
There's got to be a huge list somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But how much we know about them, I don't know. Oftentimes it's just so offhand that they exist. And then other times it's like, whoa, it does what? Yeah.
Well, we'll just add that to the list of possibles.
There we go. Yeah. Because there's all sorts of, again, we can cover the Avatar. We can cover the spirit world. We can cover the actual cultures of these different nations that we talked about. There's a whole lot there that we didn't get into. So, yeah. Let us know what we should cover next. We've got a pretty good idea, but your input is, of course, always welcome. Whew. Should I start wrapping this thing up now? I think.
Yeah, actually, I have one more request.
Ooh.
Guys, we want to do for this year's anniversary. What I would like to do for that anniversary month is do an episode where we each cover something that we want to cover from any lore universe that we want to cover. So it'll be a random episode of 3 different universes, probably.
Yeah.
But the second episode, I want to do a listener requested episode. Same
Audience
way.
choice.
Same way. So we need 3 things to cover.
3 suggestions.
3
Okay.
suggestions to cover.
What lores should we dive into?
And if you've got a topic from that lore, don't be afraid to get specific.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it probably will help if you get specific.
Yeah, it will. It will, but it's not necessary.
Right.
So let's
cool.
let's work on that if anybody will.
Yeah. Yes.
What do you want to know?
What do you want to know? What do you want us to know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. And from there, again, if you're new, welcome aboard. We love y'all already. Stay tuned. There will be more Warhammer stuff coming out, and of course, interspersed with Avatar stuff. You can find other shows. So we are Cult Talk Net. You can search at Cult Talk Net and find our sister shows, Cult Talks Conspiracy, where they talk about, of course, different conspiracies, and they do deep dives on those. And that's that's Ty and Bailey. And they're a lot of fun to listen to, and they do a lot of research, put a lot of work into those shows. It's fun. Cult of Campbell, you can still find where we review different Bruce Campbell movies and other such things. Along with the Cult of Russell is here starting out. Yeah, we've got some episodes out for that, and they'll keep coming. That's Kurt Russell movies.
Yeah, that's fun. I love Kurt Russell.
A lot of fun. American Pie Slices for like a 6-part
limited run series.
Yeah, limited series solely on the first American Pie movie. It's great. And of course, us, Cult of Lore.
Every first and third Thursday.
Yeah. So, and there'll be links for anything else that I'm missing in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for listening. I've been Eric.
I'm Ben.
And I'm going to go on a bender.